Hey, and welcome to FitMitTuro Fitness Podcast, a podcast for people who want to get no BS information about fitness and know that fitness is about so much more than losing scale weight. It's about feeling confident in your skin and empowered in your life. I'm your host, Turo Virta, personal trainer, strength and nutrition coach, and most of all, a husband of my beautiful wife, Miriam. Each week, my guests and me will give you some no BS fitness tips and motivate you to take action in your own personal fitness journey as we talk about nutrition, exercise, mindset, personal development, and executing in life with enjoyable but still effective strategies. If your goal is to look better, feel and be strong and experience transformation from inside out, you, my friend, are in the right place. Thank you for jumping in. And now let's jump into today's episode.
Okay.
So today's episode, I have a guest, Gabrielle, and Gabrielle, little background about Gabrielle. Gabrielle won in December 3 months of coaching, and now I'm curious to know what have happened and what kind of progress Gabrielle have made. So first of all, thank you for doing this with me, Gabrielle. And if you don't mind, a little bit telling the people who you are, where you live, how old are you, what you are doing, and let's get started with that.
Sure. Okay. Sure. Thank you. So I live in Canada. I've lived in Canada most of my life. I'm 54 years old. And I live a pretty sedentary lifestyle. I work from home at my computer all day. I'm not a big fan of exercise. I never have been, but I've been active with kids when I was younger. And then when they left home, I fell into depression. At the same time, my grandmother got a lot older. And needed a lot more help. And so I witnessed her deterioration. I witnessed her daughter having to take care of her more and more physically. And her daughter, being older, also had issues, pain in her hip. She had to have a surgery and everything, but couldn't get the surgery until my grandmother passed away, because otherwise she would have been laid up. So all that to say that my grandmother was not independent, had to have her diapers changed by her daughter.
Wow.
I don't want that for my daughters. And so I thought I need to make a change so that doesn't happen. So I need muscle mass to remain independent. And I need not to be as heavy in case something happens that I can't remain independent. I don't want my daughters to have to roll around a huge 250-pound body.
Oh, yeah.
So that was that's why I decided to do fitness. So I started following a couple of fitness people, you being one of them, from, and maybe I'm answering too many questions that you haven't asked yet.
No, absolutely.
I wanted fitness. I liked your style, and there was one other person, and I understood that fitness wasn't targeting certain muscles, or weight loss wasn't targeting certain areas. You're built the way you're built, and you do the best you can with that. You've encouraged that very much. You also encouraged the idea that, you know what, if things don't progress as quickly, or if you have a cheat day, or if you go on vacation, it's not the end of the world. Fitness is not, there's a goal, but it's also a journey. There's two things that are involved there. So the goal aspect, I actually learned from Arnold Schwarzenegger, watching some of his videos. And I set some goals, but then it was hard. I didn't know very much about all the different weightlifting and nutrition. And so I started following you. And then you had that contest, and I thought, I'll see if I can win. You never think you're going to win, but I won. That's great. And so I thought, okay, I won. You know what? I've done a lot of research. I think I know quite a bit. I'm just going to ask Turo, this trainer, if my exercise regime is good, and we'll leave it at that. But that's not what happened.
Yeah. No, and then how it have been now in these 3 months? What was it? What did I tell to you, or what? How did you change your workouts since then?
Well, for one, I'm not trying to do it all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing weightlifting and I was doing cardio, and the first little while. So I've been at it for 2 years before I
Mm-hmm.
um, won the contest. And for the first little while, there was progress, but then there wasn't as much. And I thought, oh, I must not be eating properly, or I need to do more research. And I was really digging around for different exercises. I wasn't able to do my legs because I did running for my cardio, and I thought I need to give my legs a break, and I'm probably doing enough for my legs by running, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. So when I won the contest and you looked at my exercise regime and you're like, you're doing too much. You're not giving your time body to heal, to build, you're not giving yourself time. You're probably really struggling to have to get to the gym because there's going to be, you're going to do a run and then you're going to do some weights. And I resisted you in the beginning because that's the kind of person I am. Yeah. And you encouraged me. You're like, just try it for 3 months. You've got 3 months. It's not going to, and I thought, okay, fair enough. And it's been a game changer. Yes, my cardio is not as good as it was, partly because I got sick, but and that was through no fault of your own. I just got COVID. But cardio is easy to build. It goes fast. And so, okay. And when you're doing muscle strength training, there's some cardio involved too. Like you don't realize it until you're doing, especially near the end of our 3 months, where you're saying do heavier weights but less reps. Turns out heavier weights makes you huff and puff a little bit.
Oh, yeah. So absolutely.
Yeah. So I started seeing more progress in my muscle definition. And why that's important to me is because that shows progress. So running progress is good, but muscle definition shows progress not just in how you look, but how you, what you can do. I used to have to roll my tires to my car and then lift them into my car. Now I can carry two tires, right? With the rim, one in each hand, and I can just launch them into the car. That's a huge progress. Oh, yeah. And my clothes fit differently. So my weight is 10 pounds lighter, but my clothes feel 30 pounds different.
Wow. That's amazing progress. Huge congrats. And this is one of the kind of most common I can't say it's a mistake, because obviously if you do everything, you still see some progress or you feel okay. Right. But now, let's say that if initially that goal was to put a little bit that cardio on kind of backseat and put that focus on building muscle, and now let's say that for the next it has been 3 months. So let's say that now, when cardio is still important, if you focus more, could put kind of that muscle building and strength training kind of on the maintenance and do it minimum amount, and then focus more on cardio, let's say, then you have let's say 5-6 months in total amount of time. You have a lot more. You can get both of those results, but not just when you focus on one thing at a time, because they are so kind of different signals what you try to tell to your body. And that's the reason, as you mentioned, you had if I remember right, you had knee issues, problems with your shoulders, everything. And now I don't know how you feel now about those all knee issues and shoulder pain.
Yeah. So the knee pain, so that's interesting, because the knee pain didn't hurt while I was running. And so I thought the running is not hurting my knee. And I went to see doctors and knee clinic, and they said my adductor, the inner ones? Yeah, and abductor muscles were weak. And I thought, except I'm running, so they can't be that weak. And so I ignored the knee pain. It wasn't damaged. They'd done x-rays and everything. So I just ignored the knee pain. And then when you came along and said, let's focus on weight training, you put in leg exercises. I thought I was going to die. They were very, I realized in that moment that running does not it builds some muscle for sure. It does not build the muscles you need for your legs. And so my knee pain is now almost gone. It's still tender if I twist it wrong. But even my husband says, like, we can go for walks, and by the end of the walk, you're not saying, oh, my poor knee anymore, or icing it or anything. My legs, even though my legs were so weak that I couldn't do more than, 4 of those Bulgarian split squats with no weights. I couldn't do more than 4. They have strengthened just by being able to do those 4. Yeah. And my knee doesn't hurt anymore. So that was excellent. My shoulder, it wasn't the exercises. I don't know what's wrong with my shoulder. It's not damaged either. But since I started doing your mobility exercises, which again, I resisted because I'm 50. So if you have to think that, I was an 80s and 90s girl, stretching. Oh, yeah. I love stretching, right? Stretching was my reward for doing my exercises. Yeah. And you were like, but you got to do mobility. Yeah. So I started incorporating the mobility the way you suggested, because what I liked about you was that you weren't like, no, do it my way. You always tried to work around my sort of, no, I want to keep stretching. Yeah. And so you said to me, okay, go ahead, keep stretching. But between sets, when you have that 60-second or 90-second rest, do a little bit of mobility. And, at first you're like, no, all right. And then you start doing it and you're like, well, that was, that's amazing. That was really good. I feel good. My muscles feel looser. Or not my muscles, I guess my joints feel looser. So I really appreciated that. Somebody who was firm enough and strong enough to, especially with me, stubborn, to say to me, okay, what you're doing isn't wrong, but consider another angle, or consider putting this into it and see how you feel. And if it sucks, don't do it.
No, because this is something like, you are stubborn, I'm stubborn as hell as well, and it's same thing with me. Like that's why I try to always like that, because what I have seen is the best. What works for me, maybe I'm selfishly looking how I am, but if you are stubborn, we have had these kind of habits. I'm not, if somebody is telling me that don't do it, if you have done it for your whole life. But then, like you said, that if you start adding something different and step by step doing it, and when my goal is to, when I get you somehow trying it, and then you start to feel that, wow, this is actually making a lot more impact, it feels better, or you get better results than by doing just stretching, then that idea is not anymore coming from me. It's your idea, kind of what you are telling. And then we have it's a lot more likely that you are actually sticking with that plan and not doing yours. I remember when you wrote me and said that, don't take my stretching away. I'm doing stretching, and that's the reason why I work out. And I was like that, wow, what could I tell that I said, okay, I can't tell you that you can't stretch anymore, because obviously especially if you enjoy doing it, it's your why or your reason why you are working out. But somehow I thought that we need to get you doing some mobility stuff, what is actually helping a lot more for those issues. And it was kind of same thing with that strength exercises for your legs. So if you have been running, even that running wasn't hurting, but it has been, that is like kind of has been game changer for such many people who have knee issues. Because obviously, what most people think, that when you have a knee problems, for example, that you can't do any leg exercises because your knee is hurting. But there is always a way to work around, like exercises that are not targeting, either you're doing a little bit less weights or something, but when you start doing it, strengthening those muscles around your knees, and then maybe doing some mobility exercises, because knee pain often, it's not coming from your knee. It could be the lack of mobility from your ankle or from your hips. So most common is from your ankles. And when you start to implement those things like a mobility exercises, strengthening those muscles, then suddenly you come to a situation like you having that realization that, wow, now actually my knee is not bothering me anymore. It's okay. Right. And you are able to do so many other things what you weren't doing before.
Yeah, for sure. I did learn a lot. And you had good tips too. Like one of the tips you gave me for the Bulgarian split squat was to put a wedge underneath my toes. Mm-hmm. Whereas everything else that I've read and watched, it's underneath the heel. Yeah. And you said, no, put it underneath your toes. Huge difference. Difference. And those were things that no matter how much research, I mean, maybe eventually I would have found, but exercise is not my passion. So doing research is also difficult.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it takes a lot of, but it's just that, like, obviously Bulgarian split squats, it's an exercise, by the way, who I don't know anyone who enjoys doing it. But if it's in my program, I was like, no, I'm not gonna, it never gets easy. But right. But there is, like, especially for knees, if you do it in a wrong way, or there are ways to put a little bit less impact on your knee. So when you use those, like putting something below your toes, or making sure that your knee kind of stays behind your toes, so you work more on your glutes and put a little bit less pressure on your knee. So it's a great exercise, as it's a single leg exercise, and often like those things. They just help so much strengthening those muscles.
Yeah.
So there were something what I really liked, that you what you already mentioned, kind of, that you are doing it your kind of for health, and what is the reason why you are actually doing it. So how your mindset have changed, like, not only, it don't have to be now only these 3 months, but earlier, what you said, that when you found that, what is your why of doing it? Like you said that you don't want to, you saw that your friend got sick, and you said that that's your kind of reason why you are ready to work hard, and why you have been very, very consistent for the past 3 months.
Yeah, and actually the consistency was there before, except that I would find reasons to stop. So, and some reasons are good, like COVID, I had to stop. I have to. My body can't respond. Yeah. In the summer here now, like for the last 3-4 years, we've been having a lot of smoke from all the forest fires. It's hard to work out during that time because you're breathing shallow, and, but we bought air filters. It makes a huge difference. But, it's easy to say, well, it's pretty smoky. I don't think I'm going to work out. It'll be fine, right? Because it's hard. And I remember this from in my 20s, and now I'm 50, and I remember, older people saying, do this, because otherwise when you're older and you're like, yeah, I'm 50, I see my grandma at 80. I'm like, well, there's, I still have 30 years. Like, I have time. But as I've gotten older, I've seen that it is harder to lose weight. And it is harder to do exercise. It's not like when you were 20, just like when I told you earlier, when I fell and I hurt myself, I fell on the ice. And in my 20s, I'd have gotten back up and shook it off. And now at 50, it's been 3 weeks and my arm still hurts, because I landed on it. So you have to factor that in as much as you don't want to. And those are little things over the 2 years that have sort of kept picking at me. And then when you and I got 3 months together, and you taught me not to do it all at once, you taught me that not only are there goals, but there's a journey. My consistency has improved. Not only my consistency, but my desire to work out has gone, it's there now, right? I know that a year ago or before the 3 months, I'd be like, oh, I'm still a little sick. I'm not going to work out. well, guess what? Tonight, I'm going to go do some weights, some gentle weights.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, take it easy, lighter weights, just keep it going. Showing up is the hardest part. Even if I just go in and stretch.
Yeah.
This weekend, I went and did a walk on my treadmill. I wanted to do 5K. I only did 4 because I could feel that my body was like, So I've learned that even though I still don't love exercise, I understand how important it is, not just from having seen my grandmother be miserable in the last few years of her life, but also, like, I've learned that it truly is a journey. As cliche as that sounds, it's just got to be part of your life. You know what? You do the dishes every day. Yeah. You cook dinner every day. You do laundry every weekend. You do something, anything, right? My husband, we lost our dog in September. He used to take the dog out all the time.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, when you have a dog, that's the contract you're in. You know that your dog is going to go before you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ever since we lost the dog, my husband has not gone on walks, and he's been more mentally sad, and he's gained weight, and he knows he has to change, and we're considering another dog and everything, but his something is walking the dog. My something is doing weights. Do something, anything. So I've seen people dance. They love to dance. So they dance and they lose all. Great, anything. But it has to be part of your life. You have to make it a part of your life.
Absolutely. No, this is, I'm first of all sorry to hear about your dog, but as these are things that might happen, and it's if you know, like, that you have that kind of accountability partner, if it could be your dog, it could be if you have a program, whatever promises you make to yourself. If you go to dance class once in a week, like something what keeps you going. And as you mentioned, like now coming from COVID, like it's not at this point, it's you have it recently. So this is always like a kind of part like that when it's the right time to start, what you should be doing. But it's not about, like, if you ask like doctors or something, they say that just rest, don't do anything. And I respect all doctors and with advices. But what I say that if you, like you mentioned, do for stretching, do for mobility exercises. If you start to feel better, it's not about completing your whole hour workout, but just do maybe 1-2 exercises, do one set, try see how it feels. And instead of doing all 3 or 4 or 5, whatever, do one set. And that's for myself and for many of my clients, especially after having a COVID, it's just, you don't need to do whole workout, just get started and prove the point for yourself that you are back on it. And then hopefully you see next day, because it's very easy to go kind of too hard in the beginning. And then you feel like day after, like that, wow, holy shit, that was probably a bit too much. So it doesn't help you. But if you do what feels like that, as soon as you start to feel like that now it's getting too much, then stop it. And you are, and then say that, okay, we will see how I feel tomorrow, how it makes me feel. And then if you are okay, then repeat it tomorrow or day after tomorrow, and really taking that time and going step by step, coming back to, like, especially because it's COVID is something what you should take really seriously and not underestimate, because there are so many people who are struggling years after that. So you never know what is going on. It's a new disease, so there is not a lot of research what says that what you should be doing. So it's really only all about, like, listening your body and learning to listen, and not only your mind to say that now I need to get back on it and do full workout.
Well, that's actually a very good point, and something that you also taught me is that you don't need to finish the workout. There is a mindset of, okay, I'm going to do this from beginning to end. Same with the dishes. There are times where I'm doing the dishes and I'm like, I don't feel like doing the pots and pans, right? And so you stop, because otherwise you're going to really hate it, right? And then you go back an hour later or the next morning. The world has not stopped spinning.
No.
And then so I found even when I worked out on your schedule, even just putting my workout clothes and going into my workout room, even if you do that, right? I know that's minimal, but just do that, show up. Because then once you're there, you're like, well, you know what? While I'm here, I might as well do a set of biceps. So you do a set of biceps and then you're like, well, I can probably also do a couple squats, right? And then stop when you really can't anymore, fine. But you'll find yourself slowly being like, I could. There's no reason. Why not, right? Sometimes I think to myself, what else are you going to do, Gabrielle? What else? If you don't do this, what are you going to do? Sit on your couch and watch TV? Does that seem really good? Right? And then you sort of be like, oh, okay. Maybe I will just keep going.
Yeah, it is really proving that point for your keeping promises what you make to yourself. And if you can't keep promises what you make to yourself, then it's time to adjust those promises what you promise to yourself, because it doesn't matter like what is in the long term, as you know, what is better. Even you do a little bit less but stay consistent, or you do perfectly for a month and then you find something happens in a life, as often happens, and then you say that you can't do anything. So it's really, that's why that consistency, it's hard to accept, but it's the honest truth that it matters a lot more than following a plan perfectly, because it's like, you know, it's so easy to talk ourselves out of it and tell that this week it just doesn't work out. So this is I use for myself too, that either I have to make the decision on Sunday week before, that if this week, if it really that there is nothing, like I asked that if I can't do anything, what can I do? And if the amount of exercise is going to be 3 times 10 minutes, then let it be that for the upcoming week when it's that kind of week. But I keep that promise. And if it's not, if that is not, because it's, if you go day by day, it's always so easy to find like something happens. There is happening some emergency in a work or whatever. So, you know, then you end up like that, where you are cutting the time. It's from your own health, and that, you know, how it's going to end up.
Yeah.
So,
and having a motivator, I'm just one more thing. I have a motivator in my exercise room. So I'll put my exercise clothes on. I'll go in the room and think, I don't think I'm going to do much. And then I have a board of my daughter's pictures.
Oh, wow.
And that's enough to make me
that's amazing
work out, because I look at them and I think, I got to do better for these girls.
Yeah, no, this is I'm exactly my motivation. Like my story is I lost my dad earlier, like he was only 70, and I have every day when I don't feel like working out, I look at his picture, and that gets me going. That gets me started. It's not always perfect, but having that kind of, that's why I wanted to address, and like, because I really love the way how you are doing it. What is your, that kind of deeper why you are actually doing it? What is because if that pain or that fear or whatever there is underlying, what is your motivation of doing those hard things is greater than the pain of actually doing that exercise, then you have a very good chances actually staying consistent. Right. And if you do like, even those are great goals, like kind of aesthetic goals, like you mentioned, getting more defined muscles or something, but they are not that deep pain or something, like, you know, if you are like, if you want to get the visible abs or for some younger, like we don't aim for those things anymore, but maybe some younger one is aiming for summer abs for next summer, and then, you know, you are like or more defined muscles, but that is never going to be that big motivator that you stay consistent, or for most of the people, especially older people, it's not going to be that big motivator to stay consistent and doing those hard things. So just in the end, before we wrap this episode, wanted to ask you, because you mentioned in some emails or messages what I got from you, that you didn't have, you were kind of thinking that what am I going to get? Like, you won 3 months, cool, maybe I keep doing what I do, but what were kind of your expectations, and what did you end up getting?
Well, like I said, I expected, partly because of my own, not just stubbornness, but thinking that I knew what I was doing because I'd been researching, exercise and everything and nutrition for 2 years. I expected that I would just get out of you something like, here, I would give you my workout schedule. You would look at it and go, yeah, and maybe tweak a few things because I was worried that I wasn't targeting all my muscles. I like balance, right? Balance is important to me. So was I doing too much for my chest and not enough for my triceps? Was I doing too much, not enough this, not enough that? And then I expected, maybe getting an email from you, I don't know, once a week, just like an encouraging email or just an email, hey, how's it going? And that's it. Like I didn't expect very much, when you get free things, you can't expect that you would get the same as you get when you pay for them. However, that's not what happened. You really got involved in my life, workout life, my exercise life. You also asked about my personal life because you want to see where my mental state is. You got to know me. You got to know that I'm stubborn. You got to know how to work around me, you sneaky devil. And you and you gave me so much more information than I ever I had no idea. I understood macros more or less. I had no idea about the protein ratio, which is hugely important, and it has completely changed how I eat. Even though I thought I ate enough protein, even though I eat relatively healthy, or I understand what healthy means, eating healthy, I have changed, and it hasn't been hard to change. And that's the important part, because when it's hard to change, you're not going to do it, right? Yeah. When it's just a matter of learning this, a chunk of meat, a hamburger has lots of protein and also lots of calories. There's the problem. So if you're trying to stay within a range of calories and you think a hamburger is going to help you get your protein, you're right, but you're not going to stay within your range of calories. And that was a game changer for me, right? A game changer. So now I have to apply it to other aspects like fiber. I know I'm not getting enough fiber. I eat too much fat. I eat a lot of, butter and I'm okay with it. If I stay within my calories, I'm okay. And you're okay with it. And that was huge. That was important because I don't want to changing my life to not have as much fat as I have would be too much. But I'm able to do it within the calories and within the protein. Great. And you're like, great, perfect. Right. So that was important that you gave me that. And that's amazing. You taught me about the importance of mobility exercises. Even though I resisted you hard on those, because I love my stretching and I still do my stretching because I love it. I love how it feels. But I also incorporated mobility into, and that was hard too, because I thought, well, I don't have time. Now I got to do stretching, I got to do exercise. And like I said, you got around me by saying, why don't you just do it in between your sets? Yeah, okay.
But it's just the ways to get you doing things what you need to do. Like mobility is as you mentioned, it's such an easy way. It obviously, and it's, if you think, like I have talked with so many people about, like, there are like 1,000 things you should be doing. It takes 1 or 2 minutes per day, but that's okay. If you do anyway, you gotta do some kind of warm up. Why you don't include 1-2 mobility exercises? If you have rest time between the sets, do one mobility exercise just for 30 seconds there, and maybe a little bit later, or do it part of your cool down, or whatever you are already doing. Like, it's like, for example, easiest way, like for example, wrist mobility. I see so many, especially women, struggling with wrist mobility. Do it if you have some kind of habit, what you already have, like you brush your teeth hopefully every single day.
Right.
It's easiest way to add it before, like, okay, it's just to remember doing it. Like, do it for 30 seconds before you brush your teeth, and then you are done for today. And you will see huge benefits of doing it. And as is mobility is like that, it's a good thing is that you don't need to do, it's not a workout you need to do for for 30 minutes or 60 minutes. It's a good mobility workout is, let's say, 1 to 10 minutes. And that you repeat consistently and more often, like if you include that 1-2 minute mobility work for part of your warm-up before your workout, there are big chances that you don't need to do it anything more.
And that's the key. We always feel like we have to do something from beginning to end.
Yeah.
So, and actually the mobility testings that you sent showed me where I failed. So those are the ones I have to focus on. I do the others when I have time, when I remember. But the ones I've incorporated are my shoulder and my toes.
Yeah.
All the other ones, I'm fine, but I might as well keep them fine once in a while.
No, absolutely. And this is the right way to do it. Like if you have somewhere you are failing, first of all, the key is to recognize where you are lacking of mobility, because it's very hard. Like if you mentioned that you have knee issues, maybe it's coming from your toes, maybe it's from your ankles. But when you know that, okay, this is area where I need to work, and then start to implement those things into your routine, and wow, suddenly you will recognize that you don't actually have that pain anymore.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be beginning to end. It can just be one.
Yeah, exactly.
One exercise here or there, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
So looking ahead, what goals are aspirations when you are going to continue? I know that you are not going to quit. You are not going to go anywhere with your fitness journey. So what goals you have for future?
I want to continue building my muscle, and it's more important now after COVID. I realized that COVID attacked my musculoskeletal aspect of my body. Like there's some nerve damage. I have tinnitus now, like long COVID tinnitus from the last time in October that I got it. So there's still inflammation. I need to build the muscle more. Partly out of vanity to see more muscle definition, because I like the amount that I got so far. And partly because if I get sick again, if I get sick, and I can't work out for several weeks, I'm going to lose some. So I want to get to a level where if I lose some, it's not as mentally damaging, right? Because if you work so hard and then you get sick and then you lose your muscle, you lose the motivation, right?
Yeah.
So building muscle, I can't do cardio yet. So that it actually works out because that allows me to focus on the muscle. And then once I get the muscle to a certain level, and I don't know what level that is yet, but once I get the muscle to a certain level, then I will, like you said, do my maintenance on my muscle, because then it's easier, right? It doesn't tire me out as much. And then I can focus on doing some more cardio so that my heart health is good.
Awesome. Just before that losing muscle mass, I want to address that before we stop. So it's something what obviously we are really scared of it, but there is a good thing or bad thing first with the building muscle. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. Obviously, if you are someone who is starting brand new, haven't worked out for months, it's relatively easy. You get amazing results for the first, let's say, 3 to 6 months. But then after that process is getting slower. And then you need to kind of use those advanced strategies to make it like looking how many reps, how many sets, to do rest time, different kind of programs, making sure you are eating in a proper way. So it gets harder. So that's why you need to do those things. But then good news is that it also takes a lot of time to lose it. So it's and it doesn't like even you are not, let's say that for some reason you can't work out for 3 months, 4 months. If you think how much progress you have made within 3 months, it's not going to be amazing progress. You might gain a little bit, but you are not. It's going same way on the upper side, so you are not losing it. And then even in the worst case, even you end up losing muscle mass, is that you have still that muscle memory, and it means that you are basically your body remembers where you have been at some point of your life. So for me personally, I was professional ice hockey player earlier. I didn't do any strength training for decade and started doing it. And it was so devastating to get started and see that, you remember very well how much weight you used at some point. I was in my 20s, 30s doing 200 kilo squats, and then now starting with the 50 kilos, and I could barely do 10 repetitions, and I was like that. And after that, doing 10 repetitions with 50 kilos, couldn't walk for a week, and I was like that. Holy that this is embarrassing. I have lost everything. But then when you start doing it, it took it was pretty much I would say 3 months. I was close, pretty close to levels I was earlier. So it's coming relatively quick back. So even obviously then to make progress from the point where you have been, but to get that level back where you have been at some point of your life, it's relatively easy. But then obviously going everything above, it takes a lot of time and effort. But for most people, they just overcomplicate way too much, or having that kind of fear of losing that progress that you have worked so hard. And now you got COVID, you can't work out for a month. And now you are thinking that for whole work, what I did for a year or past 2 years, it's gone. So it's definitely not. And just don't, until you get back on it, you haven't lost anything. And even in the worst case, you have lost a bit in a period of couple months, you get it relatively easy back.
Sure. Okay. Well, that's good to know. Thank you.
Awesome. So thank you so much for coming here. If there's anything you want to share about, if somebody want to write you, contact you, feel free to share. I don't know if you have some public Instagram profile or something. I know maybe somebody want to contact you, write you. If you have anything you want to share, feel free to do it.
Can they do it through you first?
Yeah, for sure.
If they have questions, and then I'll consider it. I don't have anything public. Just because I've taught my daughters to be careful on the internet. And so I have to practice being careful as well. But I'm happy. I'm happy to answer questions.
Yeah, if someone have any questions, you can email me turo@fitmitturo.com. I will forward them to Gabrielle. And for anything else, thank you for listening. And thank you, Gabrielle, for your hard work for the past 3 months. I hope you are proud of yourself.
Thank you. Thank you so much for everything you've done. It was so much more than I expected.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Hold up, friend. Do you love FitMitTuro Fitness Podcast? If so, the best way to say thank you is to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review on iTunes. I know every podcaster wants you to leave a review, but it's because those reviews help the podcast to reach more people. I truly want to know what you think. And if this particular episode resonated with you, would you also please share it? Either send a link to someone who you think will find it valuable, or take a screenshot and post it into your social media and tell your friends and family why they should listen it. Make sure you tag me so I can hear your feedback and give you a little love. And if you aren't already following me on Instagram or TikTok, that's the perfect time to hit that follow button. Thank you for being here and listening to FitMitTuro Fitness Podcast.